Hey, Sooner football fans. This is your Sooner Football Fans podcast. Today we have SoonerLeesa from Tulsa, Oklahoma on with us, and we talked with Lisa about her love for Sooner football and Steelers football too. She hates orange, all things orange, and she hates the Browns. So she has a dilemma with Baker going to the Browns. And we talk about her blog, She Said Sports. Sooner football fans is not associated with the University of Oklahoma, but we do have eligibility left. Boomer. Hey, Sooner football fans. You got Terry and Rob here. Boomer Rob.
Boomer Terry.
And on the podcast today, we have, she's the third Sooner lady to be on the podcast officially. The first official non-relative Sooner lady that's been on the podcast.
That we know of.
Yeah, but all the way from Tulsa, Oklahoma. She has a blog that's called She Said Sports, and if you ever get a chance to read it and want to have a good laugh,
it's fantastic.
It's fantastic. And
thank you.
But we have SoonerLeesa on with us. Boomer SoonerLeesa.
Boomer, guys, how are you?
Fantastic. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for asking.
So.
Highlight, Rob.
So you're from Tulsa. You've got your blog.
Out my blog.
Tell us what inspired the blog. She Said Sports.
Well, it's a stupid play on a stupid 12-year-old boy joke. You know, that's what she said kind of thing.
Ah, okay.
That's how I came up with the name. But I was always like, honestly, trash people either on Facebook, Twitter, what have you. And somebody said, you know what, you should just start a blog. And I'm like, what's that? I kind of looked it up and I was like, I can do that. And honestly, it was just kind of on the fly kind of thing.
Yeah. So are you a writer as a profession, or just do it on the side, or something you always like doing, or?
No, I've always liked doing it, and I did a couple of articles for like Tulsa People magazine, things like that. But I've always written, but I like to be myself. And when you're writing for things such as those publications, I can't really write the way I want to. They edit absolutely almost everything I have to say.
They don't want to print F-bombs. Is that what you're saying?
I don't understand. But yeah, so this is my best outlet for me to just write and be myself. I don't have anybody going in there and changing it completely up. I hate reading something with my name on it, and I read it and said, this is totally not what I was trying to say. So.
Gotcha. So, and as far as you're a lifelong Sooner fan, are you from a Sooner family?
Yeah, absolutely. I was born and raised a Sooner fan. Definitely my dad's influence. Some people like to call it brainwashed. I do call it influence, but I do hate anything south of the Red River.
No, well.
I call it smart, but, I'm a simple man.
But that means any teams, Rob. That even means that bit goes into pro, so I can't even like any pro teams south of the Red River.
Okay.
So I'm not sure we could be friends. I don't know.
But now, one thing that we know is that you have a English Bulldog puppy, right?
Brand new.
And
named Striker.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And little.
Not sure where that came from.
Yeah, not sure.
I did a Twitter poll actually, and people were throwing so many. You can imagine. I mean, if I had $1 for every time somebody wanted me to name this dog Baker, I could retire. Right. And I'm like, as much as I love Baker, you know how many dogs or babies are going to be named Baker now? Oh, yeah. I need a little originality.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. My wife nicks the sports names on really the last two dogs that we had.
She wears the pants.
Yeah. And it was because I've had a dog named Bradshaw. I've had a dog named Lambert. I've had a dog named Joe Green.
Oh, see?
Yeah, and she was
those are awesome names.
Yeah, but it was like, no, we're off of the we're off of the athlete names for dogs. But how old is your dog?
8 weeks.
8 weeks. Oh yeah. Well, you're just. Have you ever had an English bulldog before?
Once, a long time
Okay,
ago.
Yeah. So.
His name was AD.
Yeah. Well,
And for all you people out there who have not followed the Sooners or are fans of other teams, it is not AP, it is AD, Adrian Peterson. Every Oklahoma Sooner fan gets really a little pissed off when we hear AP.
Yeah, AP. Yeah, it's not AP, it's AD. So, and I'm pretty sure Rob's not completely knowledgeable of what I'm fixing to ask you.
Uh-oh.
But tell him what your sports teams are.
Oh, no, I've already read that.
Well, Rob, definitely a Sooners fan, duh. Been a Steelers fan my entire life. Have the tattoo and everything. It's a real thing. I also love the St. Louis Cardinals.
What are you, a little Terry clone? What's going on here? Good grief.
Pretty sure Terry and I might have been, separated at birth.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I swear.
Yeah, it's hilarious. And I was like, oh yeah, and then, of course, Rob's like a lot of Sooner fans are, which I don't understand, or is a Cowboys fan.
It's because that's the only team I could watch growing up. We had like 2 channels, and the Dallas Cowboys were on one, and the Atlanta Braves were on the other.
Oh, Rob.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is
So
that
here's
is
the thing.
true. There are so many Sooner fans that are Cowboys fans, and it makes sense, sort of, because they were the closest. I mean, save the Chiefs, of course, but they're so close to home. We don't have an NFL team. I kind of get it, but then again, I was influenced to hate anything south of the Red River. I took it very serious, and I can't cheer for any team, including the Rangers. Rob.
So currently, I call myself a Dallas Cowboys fan because that's who I had to watch growing up, and so when you and they were good, so that helped.
No, I do get it. In fact, that's how I was kind of born and raised on a baseball field. Mm-hmm. My dad played ball, coached ball, and he was so busy with it. That was starting to watch football was the only way I felt I could spend some time with my dad on Sundays. And that's actually how I became a Steelers fan, is I would watch the Steelers back in the day with him. But I totally get it. There are a lot of, I don't want to just make the Sooner fans out there hate me because I'm dissing the Cowboys. It makes sense because they were the closest,
But
closest
now,
in our...
I'm not that huge of a fan of pro sports, basketball, baseball. Well, baseball more than any of the rest of them, but especially not basketball or football that much. So I just kind of follow the Sooners, whoever they're playing for. Like Sterling, I'm going to watch the Giants because Sterling's playing. Or I'm going to watch the Bengals because my son Joe Mixon is playing.
Did you say your son?
Yeah, Rob's last name is Mixon.
Right? Do you not see the resemblance in the pictures?
I did. I talked to your son at the spring game. He's a very nice guy. He did a good job raising the young man.
Wait a minute,
Rob.
Yeah, that was a running joke for a while, and then we shared on another one of our earlier podcasts that a friend of mine. I grew up in McAllister, and a friend of mine sent a deal. We go to Buffalo Wild Wings every Thursday night, and he was like, "What are you out with? Joe Mixon's dad?" And so Rob played on that. Was like, "Yeah, what you got a problem with it?" And no, I mean,
because on Facebook it says Robert Mixon, right? So the guy was like, "No,
sorry."
But the funny story is,
I spent a lot of time down in McAllister in my college days too. Not in the prison, but in
were you visiting? Were you visiting somebody in prison?
No, not at that time. No. I had a lot of good friends from Crowder and Indianola. And
okay, you cannot. So okay, let's clarify something. You can't say a lot of good friends and Crowder and
Well,
Indianola, because there ain't a
you're
lot
right,
of people
you're right.
in either one of those places.
I had some friends
Yeah.
from down that way, so I spent a lot of time down there. I had some interesting times.
Oh yeah,
in the Callister.
Yeah,
Well, club called Bobby D's back in the day.
Bobby D's. Where was that at?
Oh,
Okay,
somewhere off the highway. I don't know.
What year span are we talking about?
I don't think you want to know the answer to this question.
Man, 90 something.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I've been up here since about 88, I think, is about when 87, 88, I moved up here, but I grew up down there. And, yeah, it's a different town. it's that's all I can say about it. But
So I was going to say I have 3 sons, and probably somewhere right around your age they are. But I bought them all Sooner jerseys, and of course they're personalized with their number and our last name on the back. So when they would go to the games and they would have Mixon on the back, and especially during the year he was suspended, they caught a lot of flack over it. It was good times.
yeah.
Yeah, that was a mess. That was a
Yeah. So how did you become a Steelers fan in Oklahoma? Because that's the question I always get: is how does somebody in Oklahoma come to like the Steelers?
Like I said, I was watching football with my dad when I was a little girl because I felt like that was the only way I could spend some time with him. At that time, it really wasn't, but I liked being able to hang out with him. He was always out coaching baseball and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I would watch football with him, and for some reason just latched onto the Steelers and have been all my life.
Yeah. So now my dad, again, it was kind of the same as you. Well, my dad was just a Steelers fan. Okay. He hated the Cowboys flat out, 100% hated them. Could not stand Tom Landry.
Haters.
Yeah. Could not, all of it. And so I always tell everybody, well, I was raised to hate the Cowboys. So the natural team to love during that time was the Steelers. And so we were Steeler fans. But now when Barry Switzer went to the Cowboys, did you become a Cowboys fan during that period of time?
Like Terry did.
Absolutely not.
No, you didn't.
No. So my dad, it's so funny because when I was growing up my dad was a big gambler. So with NFL, he never really had a favorite team until Tony Casillas, which he coached in baseball.
Okay.
And actually flag football when he was a small kid. He coached him all the way up until he went to college. So when Tony went to play for the Cowboys, my dad actually did start following them because of Tony.
See, my dad, it was kind of the same thing. My dad was a huge Switzer fan, okay? And I'll never forget, I was in Albuquerque, New Mexico on a business trip. And when I heard on, ESPN radio or whatever that, they had hired Barry Switzer, and I called my dad, I called him and I was just like, hey, so Dad, are you now a Dallas Cowboy fan? And the words out of his mouth were, "You damn right." And I was like, what? And for my whole life, and when I lived up here, I would call my dad after OU games. We'd talk Steelers and Sooners football. And while Barry Switzer was there, my dad would want to talk Dallas Cowboy football to me. And I would like, "Dad, I don't like the Cowboys." And I can't believe you do. And he goes, "Well, Barry's coaching them now, son. That's a whole different story." I said, "No, it's not." Because before Barry got there, it was Troy Aikman and Emmitt Smith. They were dirtbags. They were terrible players and this and this. All of a sudden, they were great players.
Barry has that magic, right?
Yeah, but as soon as Barry was gone, he was done. He got rid of all of his Dallas Cowboy stuff that he had. That's all. It was that little short, period of time that he was a Dallas Cowboy fan. But it drove me nuts that my dad wanted to talk Dallas Cowboys with me. So
he was just a Barry Switzer fan. He really, truly wasn't a Dallas Cowboys fan.
Right. Yeah, he was. Barry could have been, coaching the, southern Mexico, dirt robbers or whatever, and he'd have been following them. So, but it did, it was just different. But since we're on the Steelers and Rob loves talking Steelers football,
so I'm a respecter of history, like the Yankees. I don't really necessarily like the Yankees, but I respect that history. I respect Mean Joe Green and Jack Lambert and some of those guys. So, Bradshaw.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not necessarily a Steelers fan, but I respect that history.
Yeah. But that
was such a nice politically correct answer.
Why, thank you.
You're outnumbered, Rob. That was very good at covering your butt like that.
So there are very few teams that I would just flat out say I hate. Steelers are not one of them, but the Cleveland Browns are.
Yes. Oh, can I get an amen?
Yes. But what did you think about the Steelers draft picks? The Pokes draft picks. We got James Washington and Mason.
Well, here's the thing. I have a lot of people that I work with, I'm very good friends with, that are Oklahoma State fans. Of course, we all do because we live in this state.
Right.
My boss is even an Oklahoma State fan. And we all know I hate orange. No. I don't care what shade it is. I don't care if it's in my own state. I hate orange. But the thing is, and I've already gotten some flack over this, that Washington and Rudolph now are Steelers. So I'm going to be cheering for the Pokes. No, I am not cheering for the Pokes because they are not wearing Oklahoma State jerseys when they're going to be playing for the Steelers.
Right.
So I'm going to be cheering for the Steelers. I hope Rudolph does well because, face it, Ben can't go on forever.
Right.
Ben might think he can go on forever, but this is probably his last season. I'm going to just throw it out there. I think we all are.
Yeah.
I mean, he can't keep going. Let's face it. So I'm hoping he does well. Obviously, former Sooner Landry Jones, there's no way in hell he's going to get the job done.
He's had his chances.
He just is not. But we knew. I kind of knew that when he went to the Steelers. I was like, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And Washington, he can be a stud.
Yeah. And they got rid of, that day, they traded off Martavius Bryant. And when that happened, I knew, okay, they've got their eyeball on a receiver in this draft. I didn't realize it was Washington, which I was happy with that pick because he's going to fit in with what they have right now. I think great. He's a big receiver, and so I'm not worried about that. But what did you think about Ben's comments about Mason? Hey, I don't know why we drafted another quarterback. How is that going to make us better now? Did you agree with that, or did you just say like a lot of people were going, he's being a big baby, or what?
No, yeah, he's it was a little arrogant.
Yeah, it was arrogant.
I think. I mean, he has to know he can't keep playing. Yeah. I mean, it's just the facts, and it's great to get somebody in there to learn the system. And he should be glad he has somebody in there decent that he can teach the Steeler way to. I think it's a good thing, and I don't know if he feels threatened. But come on, how many times does he? I mean, he's prone to injury, especially now. So he should be. I don't understand. No, I don't understand the comment at all.
Yeah, I do to a point because with my thinking on it is he, like you said, he's old. His time's running out. He wants them to put stuff around him so he can win another championship. And I don't know what else they would have gotten. I just think he felt like we already have two quarterbacks. And my first thought when it was announced, Mason Rudolph, my first thought was, what the hell? We now have three backup quarterbacks because we got old boy from Tennessee, and we got Landry, and now we got Mason. And it's like, okay, so they're going to have to get rid of one of them, you would think. But, you know, it just shocked me that they went the quarterback route. And I think you know, like there was a little bit of, he's a little, you know, maybe spoiled, but I think every pro quarterback, you know, is spoiled to some extent. They want everything to go their way. But I kind of agreed with him where does that fit in? Because there's no guarantee that, you know, Mason can step in if he gets hurt or if he's even going to be the guy to step in. So I don't know. I was a little confused with the pick, but here's my thing is I don't know with the Steelers. Every year I question them. It always seems to work out. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah,
why did we pick that? And, you know, well, the next thing you know, everything's fine. So, you know, my opinion, it's, you know, the greatest organization in modern pro football since the Super Bowl. I mean, they have, you know, had, 3 coaches in the last 40 years. So, you know.
Right.
You look at that. So, but, you know, the thing you know, here's something that you can throw back at, you know, people telling you that you're going to be rooting for, you know, Cowboys, you know, you're going to be rooting for the Pokes and say, you know, well, I'll be rooting for guys who played for the Pokes, but I damn sure won't be wearing orange. So
no, never. It's the same thing, and it's the latest blog that I have is actually touches on that. It's Baker Mayfield going to the Browns. Now, I've seen, especially on Twitter,
oh yeah,
a lot of these Sooner fans are now Browns fans because of Baker.
Right.
Never going to happen. Never going to happen.
No.
I adore Baker Mayfield. Anybody from Oklahoma would.
Right.
What he did, I mean, there's no denying it. I really do hope Baker does well. I'm not, you know, I really would like to see him. Do I want him to go in there and get the starting job and win some games for them? I actually kind of do. I'm not going to lie.
Right.
Because I want Baker to do well. And there's so many people speaking so many negative things about him, like how arrogant he is. And I can see why they're saying that. We know because we get the publicity more than anybody.
Right.
It's not arrogance. He just plays with that edge. He has a statement to make. He had a dream, and he's not going to give. He's not going to give up till it comes true.
Right.
And that is how he plays, and it comes off as arrogance to others. I get it. We all thought that about Johnny Manziel.
Yeah.
So I get why everybody else, you know, has this hatred towards Baker. I really do hope he does well and shows everybody. I just don't want him to do well against the Steelers.
Right.
Jay says that all the time. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you know.
I was so proud when he became the number 1 draft pick. And, you know, it's like, yay! Damn it, he's a Brown. all in one spot.
I hope he does well. I've said it. I hope he does well every game, but 2 a year because we play him twice a year. And I'm going to be flat out honest because I am a huge Steeler fan. I hope that T.J. Watt blindsides him 92 times in every game.
That's just wrong. That's just blasphemy, Terry.
But I feel the same way. I feel the same way when Sam Bradford would play against my Steelers. That's my team. And, you know, whoever it is, I'm going to be it's no different than...
You should be ashamed of yourself.
Yeah, I know. I'm not. I'm not ashamed at all. So, you know, it's just
I just
how
want
I am.
to say, dear all you wonderful Sooner fans listening out there, that is Terry's opinion that he wants T.J. Watt to blindside Baker. I in no way have agreed to that, so please don't send me any hate mail.
Don't
Thank
at
you
me,
for
bro.
listening.
Yeah, no, I didn't say hurt him. I said blindside him. There's a difference, you know.
No.
You know, I just, you know, but I...
That's at Terry Long, 51-15.
But see, and it's funny, and it's not. I understand it. You understand it too. I mean, I think I don't know. I understand it to a point, but I put a deal out on Twitter with it had Forrest Gump on it, and Forrest was sitting there, and it was and just like that, all these Sooners started wearing orange, and that doesn't.
It hurts my heart.
Yeah,
it really hurts my. But I think that those who are going to follow the Browns, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I don't think they have a loyalty to an NFL team.
Right.
So they're gonna, and which is okay. I just happen to be a lifelong Steelers fan, so I'm not gonna, stop because Baker Mayfield went to. If I did that with favorite Sooners every year, I would not have a favorite team. You know.
It's like
so.
I will do the same with Baker that I did with AD. I watched the Vikings to watch him play, and it was amazing to watch him play. I'll watch Baker to watch him play. I watch Sam Bradford. I watch the Buccaneers to watch Gerald Moore play. I'm going to be rooting for them as former Sooners, but when push comes to shove, when they line up, across from the black and yellow, I want an ass kicking,
Right.
It's just that simple,
right.
And I don't own, any other jerseys, any other team's jerseys. I only have Steelers jerseys.
You're just not living a full life, Tim. I don't know what to say.
No, Rob, don't be jealous, Rob. don't be jealous, Rob, because you were raised the wrong way and picked the Cowboys.
It was my upbringing, huh?
But as far as with Baker, do you honestly think he's going to start, or how long do you think it'll take him to start?
The Cleveland Browns D-back says they can already feel the Baker Mayfield swagger. We're talking game one start right here.
Okay. Lisa, what do you think? Do you think
I don't know if he's going to start, but I guarantee you he's going to be put in fairly early, only because I think the fans are going to want it.
Yeah.
Not only, I shouldn't say only, but people are going to want to see him play. Let's face it. I mean, then you got this whole stupid Hard Knocks thing.
Yeah.
That's going to, it sounds like, be focused around. I'm being honest, I have not ever watched that, but it sounds like he's going to be one of the main characters, and it's Baker Mayfield. Of course he is, Yeah. So I think the public is going to want it, but NFL is a totally different world. I don't know. That's my thoughts. How would I know? I've never played in the NFL.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? It's a totally different thing, and we'll see. I don't know if he's going to start.
Yeah.
But I do see him playing this season. So.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was interesting that is it Tyrod Taylor, right?
Tyrod Taylor. Yeah.
He finally started talking this week. Saying, hey, he's here. He's the number one draft pick, but so am I. So, we're going to be competing, getting ready to play the game. So
he's getting ready to get that butt beat.
Yeah.
Week one starter, Baker Mayfield,
Rob
calling it out right here.
And it may be right. I mean, Tyrod Taylor's resume right now is 0.
Yeah.
0 wins. So,
yeah.
I mean, what do they got to lose?
Yeah. But I was reading a deal the other day, or watching a thing on TV, actually. They were talking about this very subject, in that professional teams generally plan 4 games at a time, okay, and how they adjust their schemes in a 4-game period. So it's a quarter period, and they said if Taylor is the starter, which most pro experts say he's going to be the starter, and after 4 games they're 3-1, you're not going to see Baker in the next 4 games.
Probably not.
But if they're 1-3, or if they're 1-2, you'll probably see him in game 4. It's just how it goes. They're going to Tyrod Taylor. He's got what he has over Baker. I think the only thing he has over Baker is experience in the NFL.
Well,
You know,
that's
whether he's won or lost, the NFL game is 100 times faster than the college game. So he's got that on him, and so I think he's going to be the starter. The question is are they going to win? If they don't win, then Baker's going to start he's going to start playing. I mean, they have no choice because he's the number one draft pick, and you don't set the number one draft pick.
You don't, and with the Heisman, and there's just so much hype with Baker. I at some point. I mean, it's the Browns.
Yeah, it's
they have nothing to lose, so I think at some point they're just gonna throw him in there.
Yeah, and
that's just my thoughts. But
yeah, and like I said, it's the Browns, and I think that's the biggest thing he has going against him is it's the Browns. Okay, I mean it's. I've said it before. I will say it until they don't become one. They are a terrible organization. They are terrible. What are you laughing at, Rob?
The Browns.
Oh,
it's the Browns.
Yeah, he just randomly chuckled on that one.
They have the Steelers their first game, I believe.
Yeah. So
if I saw the schedule, if I remember correctly, I think their opener is against the Steelers.
So that's a loss. So I'm calling that right here. So if Baker Mayfield starts the first game of the season, Rob, it's a loss, okay?
I don't know about that.
You know, and I love Baker's enthusiasm. I mean, we're Baker fans, let's face it. I mean, the things he did here.
Yeah, absolutely.
But he, you know, and everybody says this. They want it, you know, he's going up there to prove people wrong. You know, and don't bet against him. Rob keeps
doing it all his life.
He's been doing it all of his life, but he hasn't been doing it with the Browns. Okay,
he did it with Ted.
He did it with Ted. I mean, it's the Browns.
And I think part of it is Baker wanting to prove people wrong, but I think most of it is Baker wanting to prove it to Baker.
Right. Oh, I have no doubt he has the confidence and the skill.
That's where his swagger comes from. Is he wants to do it more to prove to himself, look what I can do. You know, that's just what I get from him. Absolutely, I'm a Baker Mayfield fan. I always will be. I don't care. You know, I hate that he's playing for the Browns because you're right. It's a crappy organization.
Yeah.
I would have liked to seen him go somewhere else to try to be more successful. But that's why I kind of, even as a Steelers fan, I do hope because of Baker that he can go up there and turn it around a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not scared of him, but I would like to be able for him to do that. I think that would be really cool. And he's got it's the Mayfield factor, man. We never know.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see. I honestly can't wait to see him play.
Yeah.
And I've never said that my whole life. I can't wait to see the Browns play, but now here I am. I can't wait to see the Browns play.
And they get to play our Steelers game 1.
Yeah. Welcome to the NFL.
Yeah, and the other thing about the Browns that gets me is their name. It's the Browns. I mean, come on. I know it's named after their first coach, you know. I mean, but it really, and their color scheme is really a turd. I mean, you know, their brown jerseys are, you know, they're crap brown. That's the
they're
color.
They're brown.
Yeah, with a little bit
they're
of
brown,
orange.
and you have orange helmets.
Yeah.
You're the Browns, and you have orange helmets. What the hell? No, you're the Browns. Have brown helmets.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
I don't understand. But who am I?
Yeah, it's either going to be the best thing for him or it's going to end up being the worst thing for him. And
well, we don't want him to be like Manziel.
No, he's not going to be like Manziel because Manziel's a damn idiot. Okay, I mean, you know, the comparisons to Manziel was always so far off, and anybody, you know, like Herb Street and a bunch of them that knew him, you know, and got to know him, they said that he's not Manziel. You know, he's had.
No, he's not. But for everybody outside of the Oklahoma world, they think he is.
Right. Well, but as I've said it before too, if Baker Mayfield's the guy, well, this year he was the Tom Brady of college football. If he's your quarterback, you love him and think he's the greatest thing in the world. Everybody else hates his guts because he wins, because he says stuff and he stands up, because he plants a flag in the middle of Ohio State Stadium.
Even he said that. Even he said in an interview, if I were on another team, I'd hate me too.
Yeah. I mean, people hate Saban. People, I've kind of grown to kind of like him a little bit more than what. But we need to remember as Sooner fans too, back in the early 2000s, people hated Bob Stoops outside of Oklahoma. They thought he was arrogant. They thought he was brash.
Don't ever use that word with Bob Stoops.
Yeah. I didn't. We love him. But everybody
I have a secret crush on Bob Stoops.
Not anymore. Now, the 5 people that listen to our podcast now know
I want you to know that the last game where he was there, this is so embarrassing, but I'm going to call myself out anyway.
Well, here you go.
You guys can't see me blush. Anyway, so the last home game, I sit on the front row. My season tickets are right on the front row. And Bob Stoops was, oh my gosh, he was like within touching distance. Now, I didn't try. Mm-hmm. I wanted to, but I didn't. But I did put up the phone and take a picture, and it was like I was almost stalking him, because I took so many pictures of Bob Stoops from the side, because I was just hoping he would one time turn around. I felt so stupid when I came home and saw like 11 billion pictures of Bob Stoops. They all looked the same too. They all looked the same, and I was just look at me one time, Bob. Just one time, just look at me. It was so sad. I love Bob Stoops a lot.
Did you take pictures of his ass?
I did not. Because
all right, I didn't realize this is where we were going with this. Okay.
Because his wife was standing in front of him.
There you go. Okay.
So I might have got a picture of her ass. I don't know. I came home and I was looking at my phone. I was like, "Oh my God, I might have a problem."
Yeah. Well, I was the same way, well, not quite the same way as yours. When at the spring game, we helped Jamel Holloway out with some kids that he brought up. I don't know if you've heard the stuff we put out on that, but I got to go in the players' tent, or the alumni tent. And when we walked through the alumni tent, 2 feet in front of me, Bob Stoops was standing there. Okay. Yeah, and I'm just like, and then you look out over, all the tables, and there's every Sooner you could ever think of, sitting out there eating food. And I'm just like, I wanted to talk to him, but Jamel was talking to other people, and I didn't just want to go up and go, "Hey, Bob, how you doing?" And I was waiting on Jamel to get back over by me so I could, say something to him, but never got the chance. But I stood there. Like
I would totally fangirl over Bob Stoops. Now, I did get to meet Barry Switzer, and it was real interesting. I'm not shy.
Yeah.
But I used to work for the Tulsa Talons. It was the arena football team here.
Yeah, I know who they are.
And so we hired him to come in and sit at a table for like 2 hours and sign autographs, basically.
Yeah.
So I got to meet him, and he was so cool. He was so nice. And then afterwards, he took the staff out to this restaurant we would always go to after the game, real close to the arena. And here he is, like, he's an old man at this point, but he doesn't act like it, right?
Right, yeah.
I could, shot for shot, he drank me under the table. It was 3 o'clock in the morning, and I just wanted to lay under the table and go to sleep.
And he was looking for more bottles.
He is just acting like I was like, this is embarrassing, man.
Well, I tell you one thing about Barry is, most people respect him and stuff. That you see people go up to him, but I have never seen him. Anytime I've said anything to him, I was walking out of a Thunder game one time, and I didn't realize that the guy walking next to me for 30 yards was Barry Switzer. And my wife was on the other side. I mean, I was walking. I just kind of looked to my side, and it was Barry. And I went, "Hey, coach." And he goes, "How you doing?" And just kept walking on. He's never. And anytime I've seen him like that, and I think Rob, you've said the same thing. He is always cordial.
So yeah, Lisa, I work up at the university, and I see him all the time, but not as much now as I did earlier. But yeah, he's just the most super nice guy. And I'm not going to say anything bad about our coaches, but not all of them are that way.
Yeah.
But King Barry has always got time for people.
Yeah.
He was awesome. He was so nice and just so down home and friendly. I felt real comfortable around him until I couldn't drink anymore. But he was really awesome. That's so cool about Sooners. Like, my dad just worshipped Joe Washington.
Mm-hmm.
He loved Joe Washington. I grew up, I had this little bitty jersey with the number 24 on it because my dad loved Joe Washington.
Right.
I never really got to see him play or anything.
We did.
But last season...
That's how old we are.
Last season, he walked in front of me, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, "Hey, Joe," just to see. And he's like, "Hey, what's going on?" And I'm like, "Oh, my God."
No, what do I do?
I said, "You know what?" And I told him the story. I said, "You were my dad's favorite player. I had a little Joe Washington jersey." And he's like, "Oh, that's so sweet." And I said, "Do you mind if I get a selfie?" "No, come over here, And ever since then, because he goes to all the games.
Right.
And ever since then, he walks by and comes over and talks to me, and I'm just like, that is so cool.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
and
he does not look like he played football in the 70s.
Right?
He's a small guy.
Yeah, but I mean, he still looks like he's fit. He doesn't look.
He definitely is.
Yeah, he doesn't look. He's got to be in his 60s, wouldn't he be? Mid 60s or so.
Yeah, he'd have to be.
And he doesn't look it.
Be. But most of them are so nice. Ryan Broyles was the same way, because I loved watching Ryan Broyles play.
Yeah.
He was one of my favorite guys to watch. So my dad bought me a Broyles jersey, and it happened to be the last thing he bought me before he passed.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it was like, he gave it to me like the week before. So the jersey means a whole lot to me.
Right. And
so Ryan would always be out there doing like interviews and stuff. At one time I called him over, "Hey, Ryan, come on over." And he did, and it was the same thing. I talked to him. He took a picture with me. So the next game I said, "You know what? I'm going to take that jersey because I would love for him to sign it for me."
Yeah.
And I did, and he came over, and I told him the story, what the jersey meant to me, and he was so sweet. He was like, "That's so nice."
Yeah.
And he signed it to me, and most of them, they're all so nice and cordial. I just love it. I just love that they come back and are like that with the fans because, it's so cool that they're like that.
Yeah. My daughter actually went to high school with him and knew him pretty well in high school, from what I understand. I don't think I ever met him. But, it always kind of bothers me that when my daughter says, that, "Yeah, I knew him. We used to hang out." And because I'm like, oh God. But, and then I don't know if you heard the podcast that me and Rob have talked about with Sterling Shepard, have you?
I don't think I did. I don't think I heard that one.
Yeah, we'll just, we like to pat ourselves on the back every now
Taught
and
him everything he knows.
Taught him everything he knows. we were his fourth grade football coaches.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, here in Norman, and
not fifth grade, just fourth.
Yeah, just fourth.
We crammed it all into that one grade. Yeah, everything he knows.
Yeah.
He is a New York Giant because his fourth grade football coach is.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
But I mean, the kid, he sweetest family, the sweetest kid, to this day. Him and Caleb, my son who's supposed to do the podcast with us, that hardly ever does. They were
Caleb, come on.
Yeah.
Caleb, come on. If you're listening, Caleb, I want to hear you next time.
Right. I mean, he wants to only do it when it's in the season. So,
Gotcha. Well, yeah.
Yeah, but him and Sterling were pretty much best friends in fourth grade. Okay, my wife, Sterling's mom, just went blank on her name. Sherry would.
I thought he was talking about his wife.
Would be my wife got off work at like 1 or 2 o'clock, and so Sterling always came over to our house, and Teresa would take him home when Sherry got home. But when I'd come home, from work, he'd be sitting there in my living room doing something or whatever, and I used to walk in there and go, "Man, what are you doing here?" And he called me Coach. He'd look up, he goes, "What, Coach?" I was like, "You're like a piece of furniture in my house. You know that, don't you?" And he was like, he'd always go, "You want me to go home?" And I'm like, "No, Sterling, it's okay to stay. You're fine." But he was just the sweet. And if we see him now, if he's walking around Norman, whatever, he always comes up and gives us a big hug. And if Teresa sees him, and Caleb, every now and then he'll be out doing what 25-year-olds are able to do, a lot more than what we can now. And he'll send us a picture, hey, ran into Sterling, down wherever they're at, but he is just, one of the sweetest kids you'll ever meet. And when he strapped it on in fourth grade with football, I'm telling you, he was he was a beast, wasn't he, Rob?
He was.
He was
You knew then.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
He was a little man amongst boys, but
we had him sign a bunch of stuff back then, so we're gonna throw it up on eBay later.
We actually do. I mean, I made him. He signed his name real small on the football that we got, and I was like, no. It was our team football. I said, you need to sign it big, and then I said, I'm leaving a spot underneath it for when you go pro. You have to come and sign this ball when you go pro. And he was like, okay, Coach, okay. And I still haven't got it signed. Every time, and I know he's busy. I mean, I'll send his wife something, or I'll send him something. But we asked if he was going to be around, which he was for the spring game, but she said he's really tied up. But I know if I ever run into him, and I have it with me, it'll be like, oh yeah, and he always sits around. And the coolest thing to me about knowing him that age and how him and Caleb were, anytime I see Sterling, after he gives me a hug, how you doing, and he asks if Caleb's with me. Is Caleb around here? I mean, that is always his first question. Now he's out, wherever he's doing. But he always asks about Caleb when we see him, which I think is really cool.
He's all marriaged up now.
Yeah, he's all marriaged up to a model.
Well, I have heard nothing but good about him.
Oh yeah,
there's never been a bad word spoken about him. So that's really cool. That's a great story.
Yeah. So this is like completely off of it. For some reason, this just popped in my head, because we had asked people questions about it earlier. And we've been talking about Baker. What did you think of Baker's Sports Illustrated cover? I like the guy. It kind of creeped me out. Okay?
I think those who think he's really cocky and arrogant, those confirmation for
yeah, they didn't help him,
It didn't. I didn't care for it.
You didn't?
I didn't. No.
I didn't understand it. I mean, it was like, I don't know what this means,
Well, I just felt awkward looking at it. Yeah. I'm like, does this make me gay? I don't know. I mean, I don't think I am, but
oh my God.
I'm looking at this SI cover and
Rob.
Oh,
I can't say
settle
that.
down, Rob.
My bad.
Settle down.
I don't mean to offend anybody.
Yeah, but it was just I don't know. I mean, and his, obviously he agreed with it. His handlers or managers told him it was a good idea.
Handlers.
No, I don't know what you call them. I mean,
he's not an animal.
What's a word?
But they all thought it was a good idea. But I just
Baker.
Yeah, I just didn't get it. It was just like. And then, and he's staring right at you, so you can't look at it directly. It makes me uncomfortable to look at the cover.
Were you looking at his eyes?
You have to. And just like, no, I don't. Oh, I got that, Rob. Okay.
I've just got a visual of both of you, like, having that cover poster size in your bedroom, staring at it every night now.
He's got it hanging up on the ceiling.
No. No, and see,
your wife is a lucky woman.
Rob made the comment that was looking at his eyes, and I didn't get it for a second. Okay, and I'll share the story. Okay, is me and my wife were having a discussion, and I was explaining a lady to her. Okay.
Who may or may not be listening.
Yeah, who may or may not be listening. and
not you, Lisa.
My explanation was just, I don't know who you're talking about. And I said, she's the one with the big boobs. And my wife goes, well, I don't know which one has the big boobs. I said, yes, you do.
He's still in trouble for that, by the way.
And I went, and my wife has always said she loves eyes. She's an eye woman. She loves to look at me, and I said, it's kind of, she goes, well, it's nice to know that that's what you're looking at, right? And I was like, no, I said, it's kind of like you with eyes. And she looked at me, she was like, what? She's like, you're trying to relate looking into somebody's eyes and thinking they're pretty as to looking at the, I said, no, I just said it's the same thing. It's not. So I just kept digging a hole. And then when Rob gets to the place we're at, she explains it to him, and that's why Rob said, are you looking at his eyes? So, because he was giving me that look, and I was like, yeah, but
So you've heard it here, Sooner football fans. Terry is a blessed man.
Yeah, I mean,
and he's in trouble about it.
But again, I was just trying to explain it, and I wasn't explaining it, obviously, and I'm still not explaining it very well. But
I think you're doing great. Please keep going.
But my point was, I was trying to let her know which person it was that she was asking about, and it didn't work. And so
explain to us how.
Are you saying that you only know one woman with big boobs?
Yeah, Terry, can you break that down for us?
That's it. I'm done.
No. I mean, it's like she's the one.
No, I didn't say that. I was
everybody else has flat chest.
No, it was she was asking, I don't know who you're talking about of all these people, and I said it's her, that's how I explained it. And she went, well, how would that help? And I was like, well, I don't know. I mean, it made sense to me. So, I've been married 30 years, so,
You need to be sure and point those out to me, Terry, because...
I'm not sure you're going to make... After this, you're probably not going to make 31, Terry.
You see, I'm all sitting over here with a halo, and Terry, Rob, you're going to have to point those out to me, because I don't go in for that.
Rob, don't get me going. So... But anyway, back on, let's see, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I don't even know how this went to where it went.
Let's blame Terry.
It was Rob's fault. This one was Rob's fault.
We went from how nice Sterling Shepard was to the one with big boobs. Yeah. That's awesome.
But it was because, the Baker Mayfield Sports Illustrated cover. Makes people.
So were you looking at his boobs?
No, I told you I was looking at his eyes.
You're looking in his eyes.
Yes,
lovingly or
no?
Oh, you've already disproved that theory.
No. Anyway,
you're a blessed man. It's okay. It's okay. There's a lot of you guys out there.
Yeah, it just made me. The cover makes me uncomfortable to look at. I'm sorry, it just does. So. anyway, so I gotta, speaking of that, I and I'll be honest with you,
Speaking of breasts, or
shut up, Rob.
well, I didn't know where we're going with this. I just want to clarify.
Here we go. Okay, roll it up here, Rob. I'm not,
and I thought I was going to be the one to become inappropriate on this podcast.
Here, I'm not a big reader. Okay, I don't like to read. Okay,
we'll get you the hook.
Is it because you can't read, or you just don't like to?
I just don't like to. It makes me sleepy. Okay, if I read, I start falling asleep, and it doesn't interest me. The only book I have read as an adult is the Heroin Diaries from Nikki Sixx. Okay, because it's not really a book.
I don't even know who that is.
What?
Yeah, Motley Crue. Don't. Rob's a big George Michael and Wham fan.
I know who Nikki Sixx is.
So anyway. That's the only, because that's really not a book. It's this guy's writing.
Like George Michael.
it's writings.
It's
on
like
that.
a diary.
Yeah, it's his diary. So it was kind of you could flip through, look at October 1985 and read about October 1987, whatever the case may be. But anyway,
they all were the same day. I took heroin and.
Yeah, and the next day I took heroin.
Played the
again.
drums.
Yeah, but so I'm not a big reader, but Rob has been reading your blog, and yeah, and he was one, and when I sent you the deal about being on the podcast, he was one that's like, we need to get her on. Have you read her stuff? Because it's freaking hilarious. And so,
have you ever seen Passengers? Just curious.
Passengers?
Never mind.
I don't Passengers.
How can y'all not get that?
I don't.
All right.
I don't know.
Because we're not Cowboys fans, Rob. We have class.
So you're not. Nah, never mind. Move on.
So I obviously when I went on, and read your blog, the one before the Baker one, the 3 Women in a Football Weekend Part 1.
Yeah, I never got to part 2.
That's what that was where I was going. Was it must have been a good weekend because part 2 never happened.
I kept checking back, and part 2 never came. I was like, oh
no, that was a phenomenal weekend. To be honest, I got so busy with work and stuff, and I just haven't. I've really slacked on the blog a lot, and I need to pick it back up more. It's a lot easier during football season. But,
it's pretty funny.
Yeah, but the thing that Rob and I were talking about that we decided we needed to ask you about, Wild Bill and Rex.
Oh, those are the dudes in the bar.
I thought I made it very clear that my name was Rob and not Wild Bill.
Because they just make an appearance in like one line, and I'm pretty sure there was. It's
Wild Bill and Rex. I forgot about them.
It's like 8 large paragraphs, and then by the way, there were these 2 dudes. Wild Bill and Rex.
We were at Sooner Legends.
Okay.
And we got a room there for the weekend, which was really good because we drank a whole lot that weekend. And it's a lot easier to stumble to your room from the bar than it is to drive around town. And all I remember is Rex was there first. I don't know where he came from, but he was there. And all of a sudden, his buddy came in, and his name, I guess his name was Wild Bill, because that's what we kept calling him. But one of my friends that I was with is named Jill. And Jill is crazy in a good way. Hey, Jill. She's crazy in a good way. But I remember, I was like, hey, we got Wild Bill and Wild Jill. Both of them are married, and I think they were trying to make a love connection for me.
Oh, see, that's what was there digits exchanged? Did you?
No.
Boy, that was
just saliva.
Yeah.
Hey, baby, I'm staying in the Blake Griffin suite. Come on up and see me sometime. No, I barely remember them. Actually, thought he just said that. Okay, you guys just said those names. I'm like, oh, well, I'm going right. They were.
They did enough to get a one single line, one sentence.
Well, see, if there was digits, exchange, they probably would have got 3 or 4.
Oh,
but they didn't. They didn't do enough to get another line, I guess.
No, okay.
I would think a gentleman would have to be really on his game to make headway there.
To what?
Say it again, Rob.
To make headway there, and to impress SoonerLeesa, he's really got to be on his game. Am I right? So all you Sooner fans out there listening that think you got a chance, you don't. All right?
Oh my God! This is turning into the Sooner dating game. Great.
Thanks to Rob.
You never know where to go.
I'll take Bachelor Sooner number 3, Rob.
And it's Wild Bill.
No, I don't need. I do not need a Wild Bill in my life. I can tell you that.
Well, okay.
Well, write 2 and 3 because we're hanging on tooth and nail here, waiting on blogs 2 and 3 to come out on that.
Yeah, or at
It's
least
kind of past news though. That's kind of old.
Okay.
Yeah, or at least put part 2 out as I was really hungover at the game. And that's it. That would make perfect sense.
Okay, so I have some closure there, because I read all the time.
Yeah, Rob's
so
a
I
reader.
keep going back and checking, and I'm like, okay, she's not going to do that.
I'm glad you guys. I'm glad that's the one you're referring to, because if you go way back into that blog, there's so much inappropriate stuff in there. I'm just kind of embarrassed sometimes.
Well, I think we're going to end on this note, okay? So,
yes, please.
So, we really appreciate you being on, and if
I had a great time.
If Sooner fans out there want to go read a great blog, it's She Said Sports wordpress.com, right?
Right.
And like she just said, if you go way back, you'll read some really inappropriate.
No,
it's good stuff.
It really is. Sorry,
it's okay. I've grown a lot since then.
But it's a really good, really good perspective. And when Rob told me about it and said to get you on, and I went and read it, I was like, yep. We need to, see if she'll come on and talk with us, and we're really glad you did. And
now we'll got to make sure that she comes back.
Yeah, right. And we hope that you will, want to come back and do it, and again, and we'll.
Well, I will only if Rob promises to be on time.
I told you we were blaming Terry for that.
Yeah,
but yes, next time I will.
It's my house, and I'm the one who's late. So. But
I've got to go get. We had a mini typhoon or something blow through, and I've had rain coming through my roof all night.
So you got to go patch the roof, huh?
Well, I'm not going to go patch the roof. I've probably got to go empty a bucket. Somebody in the morning is going to come out and do the work. So.
All right. Well, again, everybody, go check out her blog, shesaidsports.wordpress.com. And we've enjoyed it, had a blast, and that's our podcast for the day. So, Boomer Rob.
Boomer Terry.
Boomer Lisa.
Boomer.
Thanks for listening to the Sooner Football Fans Podcast. If you want to be on the podcast and talk Sooner football with us, go to www.soonerfootballfans.com. Click on the How to Be on the Podcast tab, fill out the form, and we'll get you on. Boomer.